Did you witness the president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption
Excuse
statutes.
me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category.
I'm sorry. That's an idiot. Joining me now, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the big cheese in that whole hearing yesterday, Congressman from the great state of Ohio, Congressman Jim Jordan. Congressman, be honest, is it hard to keep a straight face when you see someone making an absolute ASS of themselves out there? Is it hard to keep? Do you even bother trying to keep a straight face?
Well, I mean, think about this is what Fonnie Willis is the whole point of that. Those charges against President Trump and I think 18 other people, which is ridiculous, but that's the basis. So it's obviously a crime. I think it's being falsely used down there in Georgia, but when she said it wasn't. But this has been a week of strange things, by the way, Jesse, because I went to the argument, a different issue, but I went to the arguments at the Supreme Court on Monday, and we had a Supreme Court justice actually say to the Solicitor General from Louisiana, your position, counselor, has the First Amendment hamstringing the government. And I'm sitting there. This is one of those moments where you almost forget you're in a place where you got to keep proper decorum, where you almost want to just stand up and say, that's the point. I mean, I turned to my colleague beside me. I'm like, that's the whole point of the First Amendment. So this has been a week for some strange things said by people on the left. But that one was big, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And it was obviously a rough day for Democrats. Tony Bobulinski very clearly has an axe to grind with these people, and he's a wealth of information because he worked with these people. The Bidens looked really bad yesterday, didn't they?
I think so. And I think there's an obstruction concern potentially here because all the changing stories we got from the Biden White House, I was never had anything to say or do with anything relative to my son's business in China. Well, then that all moved to my father was not financially involved with the business. Sure looks like he was based on some of the evidence we have, but that changed. And then, of course, the Justice Department story changed multiple times after the whistleblowers came forward and told us how ridiculous this investigation was being done. And that was sort of all confirmed when they took the sweetheart deal to the court, and the court basically laughed at it and said, what are you bringing here? We can't accept this. And then they named the very guy who took the sweetheart deal to the court that got laughed out of court. That's the guy they make special counsel. I mean, so I think there's all kinds of potential bad behavior here that Mr. Bobulinski highlighted so much of yesterday.
There was, and a lot of this obviously lands at Joe Biden's feet. Everyone knows this is Joe Biden's business. It's not Hunter Biden's business. That idiot wasn't running anything. It was Joe Biden running things. So if the president was running, I don't even know if I should call it criminal enterprise. It's certainly seen that way. If the president's been running a criminal enterprise for about the last 30 years, are there charges brought? Where do we go from here? It looks really bad.
Yeah, we continue our work. As I said yesterday, there's no time limit in the Constitution on doing our duty to have oversight of the executive branch. So we're going to do that. There's still other witnesses we would like to talk to, particularly 2 lawyers in the Justice Department that the Justice Department is telling us no right now. We may have to actually go to court on this. But we want to talk to these 2 lawyers because they're the ones who sort of came in and changed where that investigation into Hunter Biden was going to go. So there's people we need to talk to. And at some point, we'll have to decide as a conference, should we do articles? Are there the votes for those articles? But what I said yesterday is we don't do snap impeachments like the Democrats do. We actually go for the facts and dig into the facts and the truth. And that's what we're trying to present to the American people. And then we'll decide if we have articles and if we actually go to a vote.
Do you believe the votes are even potentially there? And look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not very hopeful. I look at all these garbage that's barely passing, GOP defections all over the place. It's hard to imagine, especially with Santos gone, with Kevin McCarthy resigning, it's hard to imagine we have enough people to actually impeach. But do you believe that's possible?
Well, again, I don't know. You're right. The majority is so tight. It's tough to pass just about anything. So I'm not pretending that we're going to have the votes one way or the other. All I'm saying is I think it's incumbent upon us to get the facts. we're going to do that. I anticipate we will do some kind of report, whether we go to articles of impeachment or not. I believe we will have a report that lays this all out in a straightforward way. I mean, I think the way I try to say it is the money, the business, the brand, and how that was all put together. I think people got a good feel for that from yesterday's hearing. Millions of dollars coming from foreign entities through 20 different companies for what? What were they providing? And I think the answer we got was from Hunter Biden's business partner, Devin Archer, last summer, when he told us in his deposition under oath, it was access to the brand. And the brand was Joe Biden. Mr. Galanis talked about the Biden lift, which was another way they described the brand. They talked about this idea that, say it, forget it, write it, regret it. This motto, this slogan, this mantra they live by, the rule they live by is you keep all that quiet, but sometimes it even got written down in the form of like the big guy. So I do think there's a lot there, but we'll have to see if there are ever the votes to actually bring articles forward.
All right, let's talk about the IRS. You opened up an investigation into the IRS today, something about AI spying on us. What's this all about?
Think about what they can do if they can take it to scale and use artificial intelligence. We already have reports where people have said, oh yeah, we can do this. We can see everything companies are doing, individuals are doing. Someone on the inside, this was Mr. O'Keefe was able to get some of this audio of this guy saying this. So that is scary when you think about in the broad context, a Justice Department that said, we're going to investigate parents at school board meetings. An FBI would said, if you're pro-life Catholic, you're extremist. A government that pressure big tech to censor American speech. A government that asked big banks, hey, give us the transaction data of your customers, debit card, credit card purchases. Are they shopping at Bass Pro Shop, or are they buying religious texts? How dare someone get a Bible and go buy a gun at Dick's Sporting Goods? So that's the kind of scary context and framework we have. And then we find out, the IRS is thinking about announced how thrilled they were to be able to use AI to deal with people who may not be paying their taxes. We're afraid of it from the other side, where they're coming after you, particularly in light of things like Ketanji Brown Jackson said at the Supreme Court, where, we're nervous about the First Amendment hamstringing the government, which is exactly what the First Amendment's supposed to do. That's the context. And then we see this statement that this guy made, sort of bragging about AI and what that would allow the IRS to do. And as I've said before, I think that's an old Newt Gingrich line, you think about the IRS. I mean, the IRS knocks on your door. Your first response isn't, oh, joy, one of my public servants is here to help me today. I mean, this is the IRS, for goodness sake. So if they got this kind of power where they can do it at scale in that kind of time frame, man, that's frightening stuff.
That is. All right, one last thing. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, went on TV, I think this was last week, and he was talking about some cuts, and I was thrilled with the headline. Anyway, here he was, cuts to DOJ. Here he was.
We have advanced, and we also advanced, as you've seen the summary, cuts to some of the agencies that we believe are really overreaching and have been turned in some ways against the American people. We're going to cut 3% from DOJ, 7% from the ATF, 6% from the FBI, and 10% from the EPA, and that's just a start.
Well, that's a great start, but we have this spending package going through $1.2 trillion. People can't figure out how many bills there are. Are there 6? Are there 2? Is it 1? Either way, are we getting cuts? What's happening with all this?
We're getting some reductions, but remember, there were huge increases under the Democrats, so the reduction is not, frankly, where it needs to be. But look, in divided government, I appreciate the reductions there. I think there was a better strategy if we could have corralled the votes, which again is tough when you only got a 1 vote majority. I think there was a better way we could have done this, but we appreciate some of the cuts we've got in this legislation. I'm not going to support it. I thought there was much better ways we could have done this strategically and everything else. And by the way, we haven't stopped what's already been appropriated for the FBI headquarters. We just said we didn't just get no new money for that, but it's already in there. So the very FBI that says pro-life Catholics are extremists, who helped the DOJ, who told big tech, oh, be ready. We think there might be, in October of 2020, there might be a Russian information operation involving Hunter Biden and a laptop, even though they had the laptop and knew it was real. Do they really need a new headquarters? I don't think so. So I think there's some of those concerns that many of us still have, and will not support the bill on the floor tomorrow.
Wow.